Yo, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in to today's live edition of Vikings Not by Chat Sports. We're going to be going over everything you need to know about your Minnesota Vikings heading into this NFC North matchup. Taking on the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. Vikings coming into this game with a record of 4-6. You got a chance. Move the 3-1 in the division and just keep your playoff hopes somewhat alive. So if you guys want the Vikes to beat the Green Bay Packers, just give me those skulls down below in the comment section. Appreciate all of you guys to get the chat going as we let the audience build up. We got Izzy Glover in the building saying, "What's up, Pat? Skull, what's going on? Marco Sports in the building. Jacob in the house. Asia Roberson, appreciate you for tuning in. Big O saying, "Do you think Sam Darnold will dice up the defense because he practiced with them all last year?" Good question. We'll dive into that when the Vikings eventually play the Seahawks next week, which that's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of fun. But Fletch in the building saying Skull. CS Stroyer saying Vikes going to win. You guys got some optimism about the Vikings-Packers game this weekend. It does give similar vibes to the Lions game, but totally different teams. They play the game totally differently. Their philosophy on both sides of football totally different. And the Green Bay Packers are a very, very good team, but we'll see what happens. Is Jacob saying, "Pat, is Kelly playing this Sunday?" It's looking like it. So the Vikings earlier today, they ended up releasing Dwight McGlothern, and they had to open up a roster spot for Ryan Kelly coming back. So I'm assuming they let Nudie go for Kelly to get back on the 53-man roster. And obviously, if they elevate him, he is going to be the starting center, which should be the first time all season we see that 5-man starting offensive line unit out there. But we did have Vaporous coming in saying, "You think the Vikings should tank for Jeremiah Love?" I just don't think tanking's a real thing in the NFL, even if you're 0-13, that's just not possible. Because these guys' careers, they're way too short. They want to put good tape out there no matter what. And football is just way too physical of a sport. And also, I don't think you will need to tank for Jeremiah Love necessarily. Like, he'll probably go in between 13 to 19, which is probably where the Vikings will end up drafting unless they completely turn the season around. So, should the Vikings tank? No. But will they need to tank? Probably not. But I appreciate you, Vaporous, for coming in. Shout out to you, my guy. We also had Blinky coming in with a $10 super chat. Appreciate you, Blinky. We also got Connor Vikings in the building. Vikings follower saying, "Is Fries good?" Yeah, Fries was updated to limited today, so he should be out there. As Blinky saying, "The impatience of this fan base based on a rookie quarterback is stunning. Have some gumption to swallow a nice regular season for one and done in the playoff. Fans for a future Super Bowl. I want ownership to embrace it." The fan base of a rookie quarterback is stunning. Have some gumption. Yeah, listen, Blinky, I'm with you, and that's why Vikings fans kind of frustrate me a little bit, where it's they're just so impatient with JJ McCarthy. It's like, guys, we haven't been close to the Super Bowl in a very long time. I think the Vikings have 3 playoff wins since 2000. So it's not like this fan base or this organization has had a lot of success. I might as well just be patient with the kid. What are you going to do? You're going to go draft another quarterback and go bring in a stopgap guy. We're still going to be a middle-of-the-pack football team. I'd rather have these downs with J.J. McCarthy and then hopefully reap some benefits down the line. Marco saying, "Do you like Pringles?" I feel like I'm about to get got here. I'm not going to answer that, Marcos, but yeah, I do like Pringles. But let me ask you guys this. Predict J.J. McCarthy stats versus the Packers this weekend. How do you think he's going to play? How many yards, touchdowns, interceptions? I just want him to play a clean football game this upcoming week. Him 5 games in a row now with an interception. He's got 8 or 9 turnovers total on the season, so he's almost averaging 2 turnovers per game to start his NFL career, which is obviously not good. But I think JJ, he'll have a better game. If I had to predict it, maybe he goes for 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, and hopefully just not an interception. I think that would be a very, good step in the right direction. Plus, it's not like, listen, if he was playing the Bengals defense or the Cowboys defense at home, I would probably say would expect a better performance, but he's going on the road and playing the Green Bay Packers. Like Michael Parsons, Jeff Hafley does a great job over there. Their linebackers, Edrin Cooper's a stud. They just got a lot of, blue chip talent there. So I would be cool with, like you guys are saying, like 21 to 35, 211 and 2 touchdowns. Jacob, that'd be a good performance for JJ on the road, but we'll see what happens. Vaporous coming back in, though, saying, "You think it's good for the Vikes to get Love in the first round or nah?" I'm going to probably say nah on that, and it has nothing to do with Jeremiah Love. I think Love's a fantastic prospect. I think he'll be a great running back in the NFL. Now, if the Vikings want to completely shift their identity and their offensive philosophy, and you're going to tell me, like, hey, Kevin O'Connell will kind of lean into that Jim Harbaugh, Dan Campbell mentality offensively, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, what those guys like to do, then yeah, I would have some interest in Jeremiah Love. But the way Kevin O'Connell orchestrates his offense, do you really want to spend a first-round pick on a running back who, you're not going to make him, the true featured back in the offense? So I would probably say no, and plus the Vikings do have some holes defensively. Got to get more safety and cornerback help, so I'd rather use a first-round pick in the secondary this upcoming draft. Big O saying, who is Love? Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame running back. So if you guys could predict the score for me down below, Vikings Packers this weekend. I think the Vikings, again, I'm maybe just being recklessly optimistic here. I think they'll get a win. I did not feel good about that Bears game just because of the pressure that was on the Vikings, and they really crumbled. But hopefully they can play with some house money this weekend since nobody believes in them. And again, the Vikings will probably have to use that song and dance for the rest of the year of just, hey, nobody believes in us, especially the next 2 weeks. Because even if you go into Green Bay and you beat the Packers, nobody's going to give you a chance in Seattle. Then you're back home against the Commanders, so that could be a big-time game. But if you could just somehow go 2-0 over the next 2 weeks, then you got the Commanders at home, probably without Jaden Daniels. You could somehow get to 7-6. Bears fans really make me angry. Oh, you got no idea. I can also see how knowing Vikings fans were probably back in 2022 as we were winning games the exact same way as the Bears were this current season. But coming up on today's show, I do want to dive into some defensive issues that the Vikings have been having, specifically taking the football away and third and long issues. And then I do want to dive into a Week 12 preview, Vikings versus Packers, tell you guys everything you need to know there. A lot of injury news, so we'll headline that on the first half of that show. But we will have a mailbag coming up. So if you guys want to get your questions down below in the live chat, just use hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on today's show. Appreciate all the real ones who have already Super Chatted. But hashtag Vikings in the live chat. Get your questions up on screen. You'll be right next to me. Profile pic, your name, your question, and we'll talk about it. But if you guys are ready to rock and roll, make sure you guys have hit that thumbs up icon. We're at 11 likes right now. Once we get to just 15 likes, we'll start today's show. So hit that thumbs up icon. I would greatly appreciate it. The Bears are losing to Daddy Aaron Rodgers, who owns them. I hope so, man. I can't have the Bears be 8-3. I'm really feeling a J.J. McCarthy breakout game. I don't know. J.J. saying the cork's about to – what did he say? The cork's about to come off the bottle or whatever. So hopefully he's right. He says he just needs to shore up a couple of things. The only thing that's concerning with J.J. is if he's talking about this from a mechanics perspective, like I'm in front of you guys that played golf or maybe played baseball with your swing or even basketball with your jump shot, like when you are changing a lot of your mechanics, like that can lose you or that can cause you to lose a lot of confidence because like he doesn't feel comfortable with this and even alluded to the injuries, kind of stopping him from getting all the reps that he would have wanted. I actually love this quote. He was talking about stealing reps, like when he's taking the dog out, like he's working on, getting 10 dropbacks in. I just love that extra mentality. I also love the term stealing reps, just getting those extra reps anytime he can. But Brozama been swagging, coming in. We'll make sure to include this in the mailbag as well. Appreciate you, Brody. Saying we may finally see the O-line we expected. Yeah, I mean, this would be the first time all year if Will Fries and Ryan Kelly are able to go, which it's sounding like both those guys will be out there, that the Vikings will finally have that five-man offensive line unit that we have been banking on having the entire season. It's kind of crazy how it's Week 12, and we haven't had that five-man offensive line unit out there for one single snap. So hopefully we'll be all right. Any seriousness to Mac Jones or just rumors at the moment? I mean, Mike Florio said the Vikings, there's chatter around the league that they could be calling this offseason. I just think this is kind of Florio trying to get headlines a little bit, but he probably heard something from somebody. I think I'm guessing that kind of went down as like, hey, Florio was asking somebody like, what do you think the Vikings would do if like this JJ thing really doesn't work out? Then maybe the guy said, oh, keep your eyes out on Mac Jones. I could see them making a move. So it could have been something as simple as that. But we'll see. We shall see. All right, we're going to dive into today's show. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, but let's talk about the defensive issues and actually the Vikings hiring a former head coach to help out J.J. McCarthy. Let's do it. The Vikings defense over the last couple of weeks, in my opinion, has been absolutely fantastic, but there are some issues that Brian Flores and this unit have been having, so we'll talk about those on today's show, and then also second half of today's show. Could the Vikings be bringing in Brian Dable to help fix J.J. McCarthy's mechanics? We'll talk about all that and more on today's edition of Vikings Now. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. But let's talk about the Vikings in terms of taking the football away. So this is their stats defensively on their takeaways they have forced this season. So week 1 against the Bears, it was only 1. Week 2 against the Falcons, 1. But then they had a breakout against the Cincinnati Bengals, taking the football away 5 times. But when they were across the pond, 0 takeaways against the Eagles, 1 against the Chargers, 1 against the Lions, and then 0 back-to-back weeks. So if you take away the Bengals game, the Vikings have only had, 2, 3, 4 takeaways the entire season in the other 9 games. So it's clearly an issue. Now, there could be a bunch of reasons for this issue that we'll dive into it, but the Vikings just have been bad at taking the football away this season. And plus with the Brian Flores defense, it's not like he relies on it, but that is one of his specialties. It's like being a high takeaway defense. That hasn't been the case this season. Now, sometimes that's just the ball not bouncing your way. The amount of times the Vikings have had tipped balls this year, or even Isaiah Rodgers one on Thursday night where he picked off Justin Herbert on the first play one of the first plays defensively, ended up getting overturned. So we'll talk about why that could be the case, and also do want to give you guys some quick thoughts on the 3rd and long defense as well. But if you guys could hit that subscribe button today, we are just 20 subscribers from our next milestone of 67.2 thousand subs. So if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button today. And once you guys are subscribed, hit me with those skulls down below in the comment section. All right, so we're diving into a couple reasons here why this is an issue for the Vikings. Because, last year, if you guys remember, we were one of the best takeaway teams in the entire league. And, they were forcing fumbles, they were recovering fumbles, but mainly they were intercepting passes. The Vikings had the most interceptions last year defensively by a wide margin. I think they finished the year with 24 picks. And a lot of that was just late in the game. Quarterbacks trying to force the ball in the tight windows. Vikings were making plays. But I think the number one reason why this is happening with the Vikings is just a natural turnover luck we see in the NFL every single season. Like the Chicago Bears, in my opinion, they're one of the luckiest teams in the NFL this year. They have some of the best turnover luck we have seen, and that has resulted in them, winning a lot more games. But the thing is with the Vikings this year is you had a couple tip passes over the last couple weeks, especially against the Baltimore Ravens. I think they batted 3 Lamar Jackson passes up in there, and it just ended up falling on the ground. If you got a guy in a different spot or that ball, gets batted up a different way, and the Vikings would have a lot more interceptions. And also, you think about it, the Vikings have been getting blasted a couple times this season. Against the Los Angeles Chargers, you got your shit kicked in. Against the, not against the, I'm sleeping on it. Against the Atlanta Falcons, you were getting beat handily most of the game. So a lot of these teams aren't really pressing the issue too much. They're just kind of playing it safe. And even the Ravens game, the Ravens, when the Vikings played them, they just kind of had an old school Patriots feel. They're like, hey, we're not going to put the ball in harm's way too much. Even Kevin O'Connell said the Bears last week, they had a very vanilla game plan. So I think that's kind of been the philosophy with the Vikings offense being as bad as it's been, is teams are playing the Vikings and saying, hey, if we don't self-combust, and we just kind of rely on our defense going against that offense, and we don't let that Brian Flores defense really take over like they did against the Bengals, we'll have a good chance to win. And plus, when you're getting blasted in all these games, late in the fourth quarter, teams are just running the ball out. They're not pressing the issue too much. So I just think natural turnover luck is probably the biggest reason. And I also think the Vikings in the secondary this year, they've taken a step back. Number one, you lost Cam Bynum. I think maybe I undersold how big of a loss that would have truly been for this team. And this defense specifically, but you haven't had the impact you would have felt from Theo Jackson. Harrison Smith looks like he's 55 years old out there. Byron Murphy's taking a step back. Byron Murphy, last year had 6 interceptions. This year he's got 0 so far. And you really just haven't had too many, wow plays from a corner. It hasn't been, Isaiah Rodgers jumping a big-time out route, or, Byron Murphy making a ridiculous play on the ball. The Nashawn Wright interception for the Bears last week, JJ underthrew him by maybe half a yard, but he was still able to rise up, make a big-time play in the football. So I just think the talent in the secondary has definitely taken a hit. And then also just a lack of pressure and the lack of sacks you're having on the quarterback position. Because obviously when you sack the quarterback, there's a massive chance that the ball will come out, and the Vikings haven't been able to get quarterbacks to the ground this year. They're probably so focused on just since how bad they've been on not missing sacks that they haven't really been focusing in on, all right, let's try to get that ball out. They're just trying to get the quarterback to the ground. So they haven't been doing that whatsoever. Even last week, there was some just natural luck. When you strip sack Caleb Williams, the ball bounces on the ground. It lands straight on his face mask. That's just going to happen. So I think it's just a combination of a lot. Now, I will say on the 3rd and long defense for the Vikings, that I have no idea about. Like, that is a situation with this Vikings team this year, which is so unusual because of Brian Flores. Like, he's one of the best third down defensive coordinators in the league. I don't know how they've been giving up the 3rd and 10s as frequently as they have. And I haven't seen a stat out there, but I'm assuming the Vikings are doing this the most in the league. Like 3rd and 10+ situations, they're giving up third downs at a very high level. So I just think it's a combination of everything. Still, I think the defense is very, very good. Playing some great football, especially over the last couple of weeks. But you just got to start taking the ball away because you know that stat with Kevin O'Connell, 33-4 when he wins or ties the turnover battle. You got a young quarterback making a lot of mistakes. You would hope that the Vikings defense would have some takeaways, especially this weekend against the Packers. So if you guys want the Vikes to have 2+ takeaways versus Green Bay, hit me with those skulls down below in the comment section. Hopefully a couple balls, bounce our way. So if you guys want to get some good luck going, type those skulls down below. All right, coming up next, we are going to be talking about Brian Daboll and if the Vikings should bring him in to help this J.J. McCarthy mechanics issue. Very similar to what he did with Josh Allen. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. But before we do so, I got to give a massive, massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now, if you guys head over to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off and use code VikingsChat50 off, we'll hook you up with 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Now, the fall season always feels like a reset. Between back to school, busy routines, and shorter days, finding time to cook can be tough. That's why I love Factor. The chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets. And here, covering the Vikings at Chat Sports, living a busy lifestyle, I don't always feel like making a home-cooked meal. When I get home from work, that's where Factors came in and has changed my life. And they also have more variety and more meals. You guys can choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options. So eat smart at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off. Plug in that promo code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's promo code VikingsChat50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. This offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. All right, let's talk about Brian Daboll here. Obviously, he was let go from the New York Giants a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of teams will probably have some interest in bringing him in, not as a head coach. Maybe a couple teams will, but mainly just to help them, get their offense to another level because he is a very smart offensive-minded head coach. And, Brian Daboll did a great job of helping Josh Allen. Because if you guys remember, Josh Allen came into the league. Yes, he was a very raw prospect, but his mechanics were horrible. Like, he was sailing a lot of passes, very, very similar to J.J. McCarthy, and Brian Daboll really worked that out of him. And Josh Allen, he has gave, Brian Daboll, his quarterback coach, Jordan Palmer, a lot of credit for those guys being the reason that he was able to take his game to the next level. So could he do that with J.J. McCarthy? Definitely on the table, but it definitely wouldn't hurt whatsoever. Just get a new, kind of look on J.J. McCarthy from another coach. And, even though J.J. and Josh, they have, different traits and they are different styles of quarterbacks, but they are very similar in terms of where they are right now in their careers, or in terms of where Josh Allen was during his first year starting and J.J. McCarthy. And, their mechanics are obviously an issue. The lower body, like Josh was doing the same thing, where his base was way too wide. And J.J.'s base has gotten way too wide the last couple of weeks. So they are very similar in terms of their mechanics in throwing the football. And, like I was saying, Allen changed his throwing mechanics from what he had coming out of Wyoming. He was very sloppy with them, kind of like how J.J. is right now. So Daboll, at least he's got experience changing a star quarterback's mechanics, and he could potentially do the same thing with J.J. And, could you imagine these 6 eyeballs being on J.J. McCarthy every single day at practice? You got Brian Daboll, you got Josh McCown, you got Kevin O'Connell. It would be an unreal staff here for the Vikings. And, it would be nice to also get a new set of eyes on J.J. McCarthy because, maybe Brian Daboll will come in, see something different that Josh McCown and Kevin O'Connell aren't seeing. Like, that could be on the table. And this would also allow Brian Daboll, if he doesn't love any of the head coach openings right now, it's just, the New York Giants obviously not going to go back there, and the Tennessee Titans, which they probably won't hire him. He could wait and kind of learn from KOC, learn from Josh McCown, wait in the reins, and once there's a head coach opening that he really likes, then maybe he could just be with the Vikings for a year and go get another head coaching job in the NFL. But it's all about J.J. McCarthy. Everything's about number 9. So if you guys still believe in him, give me a Y for yes. But if you guys are out on the Vikings young quarterback, give me an N for no down below. And we'll get on out of here. As always, let's go Vikes. Do we need Jefferson to get some touchdowns? Yeah, I agree. I agree. My Packers friend says that the Packers dropping 30 on our head. Yeah, I don't think so. Flores is he's been great against Jordan Love. Yeah, we could do that, Big O. Brian in the building saying why for yes, yes sir. Shout out to Connor Vikings in the house as well. But I do want to dive into the next segment here, giving you guys the latest injury news. Also diving into a preview and looking at the Green Bay Packers ahead of this matchup. But get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on today's show. Who do you think is more of a fraud, the Colts or the Patriots? The Colts, 100%. That's just because the quarterback. But also the Colts are going to be a tough out in the playoffs just because of their run game. That's going to be a problem for other teams they have to face. So, we'll see. We'll see how they do in the offs once it comes around. But if you guys could get those questions in there, hashtag Vikings. Brady then get a question. Adriano, if you could get a questions in there, and same with Steven. Get those questions in there and be able. How about you as well? Get those questions in there. Just hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on today's show. We'll get into a mailbag here in about 15 minutes. So get those questions in there. I would greatly appreciate it. Big O, get a question in before you get on out of here. And we'll do a mailbag here in about 15 minutes. But let's dive into it. A little preview of the Vikings-Packers game, the latest injury reports for both teams. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, I do want to share with you guys all the latest injury news on the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings front. Packers got a lot of guys on the injury report, and the Vikings getting pretty damn healthy, specifically on the offensive line. So that's great news there. And then also a preview for the Week 12 matchup against the Green Bay Packers. But right before we walked in the studio today, the bosses were calling out Vikings fans saying we need more likes on our videos. So if you guys could help us out, our bosses challenged us to a lofty goal here of 1,000 likes on today's show. So if you guys could help me out, hit that thumbs up icon today. Or if you guys just want to get the good vibes rolling heading into Lambeau this weekend, hit that thumbs up icon. All right, let's dive into the Packers injury report here. It's a lengthy one, and there's some marquee names on their injury report. But most of these guys should be good to go. Starting with the safety position, Javon Bullard. He was a limited participant this past Wednesday at practice dealing with an ankle injury. Their star linebacker, Edgerrin Cooper. He is one of the best linebackers in the league. Talk about a guy that flies around, very physical player. That is who Cooper is. He is absolutely fantastic. I think when you think about some of the more premier defensive players, especially at the linebacker position, he doesn't get enough love. Every time you turn on the tape for the Packers, 56 is out there making a whole lot of plays, but he is dealing with a foot injury, but he should be good to go. Romeo Doubs, wide receiver, limited participant, dealing with a wrist injury, but he should be good to go. Question marks around Matthew Golden, though. Some of the Packers beat reporters are doubting that he'll be out there dealing with a wrist injury as well. But their kicker, Brandon McManus, should be out there, full participant with a quad injury. But two guys did not practice. Now, Josh Jacobs did end up practicing in a limited fashion on Thursday, but on Wednesday he did not practice. Looking like he's probably not going to go, dealing with that knee injury he suffered against the New York Giants. So that's huge for the Vikings because Matt LaFleur loves to run the football. Their whole offense is based around Josh Jacobs. So he's dealing with a knee injury, and then also Nate Hobbs probably won't go, dealing with a knee injury as well. But they should have their starting quarterback, Jordan Love. He did hurt his left shoulder versus the New York Giants, but he's able to come back into that game, make some big-time throws. I actually thought Love's performance in the second half against the Giants was pretty damn good. His receivers weren't helping him out whatsoever, but he got that confidence going, and Toyota-thon starting on Wednesday. So if you know there on the Jordan Love front. But some other big-time names popping up for Green Bay. Micah Parsons, LP with a pectoral injury. He should be good to go, though. Zach Tom, question mark if he'll play. Offensive lineman dealing with the back injury. Obviously a little nerve-wracking there if I was a Packers fan. But you also got Lucas Van Ness hopping on there. Quay Walker and Christian Watson. Quay dealing with a neck injury. One of the better linebackers in the league as well. And then Christian Watson dealing with a knee injury, but he should be good to go. Now on the Vikings front, their Week 12 injury report. Christian Darrisaw, typical DMP on Thursday, but he should be out there. And then besides that, the Vikings are legitimately 110% healthy because I'm fully expecting Will Fries to play. Now with Grenard being limited, probably put at 60, 70% if Grenard's out there. But Aaron Jones practiced in full. Ryan Kelly practiced in full. So, think about all the marquee players on this Vikings team. like Van Ginkel, Cashman, Josh Oliver, all these guys that have been banged up throughout the season, like, they'll be fully out there. But the biggest news here is Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. The Vikings, for the first time all season, for the first snap, they will have Darisaw, Jackson, Kelly, Fries, and Brian O'Neill. I mean, the amount of times you showed that player 5 rank of their of the Vikings' potential starting offensive line was about 1,000 times this offseason, because I couldn't wait to see it, and I will finally get to see it Week 12 here against the Green Bay Packers. But if you guys want Will Fries and Ryan Kelly to play this Sunday, hit me with those skulls down below in the comment section if you guys want the Vikes to have their starting offensive line out there this Sunday. Now, I do want to give a massive shout out to today's sponsor, that being Harry's, a shaving company. And for a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. Now, I have had some pretty rough experiences with old razors in the past. Sometimes the razor would go way too dull, way too fast, and it would also start to irritate my neck. I just wasn't really enjoying the experience until I tried Harry's. It completely changed how I view shaving my face every single day, because it has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, a refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, a weighted metal handle for added control and comfort, and actually the handle is Harry's heaviest handle ever, and I absolutely loved it. It got the best shave I've ever had in my life, and if you guys check them out, you guys will think the exact same thing. So for a limited time, our listeners here at Vikings Now can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. All you got to do is head to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer. And after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you here at Vikings Now by Chat Sports. All right, let's dive into the Green Bay Packers here. A pretty polarizing football team. At a certain point this season, they were the Super Bowl favorites. They were heavy favorites to win the NFC. The NFC North kind of came back down to reality over the last couple of weeks. But I think their calling card this year specifically is how good they are on the defensive side of the football. Micah Parsons, Edrin Cooper, I mean, they just got blue chippers. They got a great defensive coordinator. Jeff Hafley, he's not the most exotic defensive coordinator. Like, he is pretty polar opposite to Brian Flores. But I will say about Hafley, I always feel like the Green Bay Packers defensively, who's watching them this year, there's a sense of swagger and there's a physicality to them. Like, they fly around the football field. Like, I still remember that Lions-Packers game from week 1. That was one of the most physical football games I've ever seen. But they rank out very well defensively, 7th in points, 6th in yards, 3 in yards per play, 12th in third down defense, 6 in total touchdowns per game. But offensively has been a little hit or miss. Big reason for that is because their quarterback is pretty hit or miss. So they're about middle of the pack in most, or slightly better than the middle of the pack in most statistics offensively. But the storyline for the Packers this year is just weird games for them. They had that week 3 game in Cleveland against the Browns where they ended up losing 13-10. They had the Cowboys game, which they should have lost that game if the Cowboys score operator wasn't a Green Bay Packers fan. But that was a tie ball game, 40-40. And the week 9 game, just happening against the Carolina Panthers, ended up losing that game 16-13. So the Packers, they have laid a couple of eggs this year, but still when they play their best football, they're a very good football team. And it just also comes down to which Jordan Love are you going to get? Are you going to get Jay Love where he's balling out, he's throwing off that back foot, he's looking cool, calm, and collected, and he's delivering some seeds? Or are we going to get the Jordan Love where he looks like a total bust? He is very similar to how we probably view J.J. McCarthy. It's just an up-and-down quarterback. But also Brian Flores has had a field day with Jordan Love, and specifically blitzing him. Last year, a Week 17 game at U.S. Bank Stadium, Flores had him in a blender. He blitzed on 55.9% of dropbacks, had 3 sacks, had 11 QB pressures, and the QB pressure percentage was 32.9. So Love, he has struggled against the blitz in the past, but he has had one of his better games of his NFL career because he was carving up the blitz. And this was happening on that Sunday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was 12 of 17, 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, almost had a perfect quarterback rating against the blitz, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So clearly he's gotten a little better at it, but I fully expect Brian Flores to dial up the exotics, to dial up the crazy coverage looks, and hopefully just try to throw him off his groove early, because he is kind of like a streaky shooter in basketball. Like, if he sees the first couple of completions go in, he could get rolling throughout the game. But if he's off target early, could really derail an entire outing for Jordan Love. But this game, at the end of the day, is going to come down to J.J. McCarthy. just like it will every single week from here on out for the Minnesota Vikings, because I think they got a really, really good defense. They fly around the football field. Flores still has that team and that side of the football really, really locked in. And offensively, I still think KOC is dialing up good looks. The receivers, even though they have taken a step back from what they were last year in terms of drops and just creating separation, it's still one of the best support systems in the NFL. So if we could just get a good number 9 to show up this Sunday in Lambeau Field, the Vikings will have a good chance of winning. Like, truly. And the thing is with the J.J. McCarthy-led Vikings is we just need to see a clean 4 quarters, because he could have a terrible 2 quarters, then a great other 2 quarters. You have a really great 3 quarters, 1 bad 4th quarter. Just can we get a full 4 quarters of football from J.J. McCarthy? That'll be huge this weekend. And you also got to hope this for the Vikings, because the Packers are an up-and-down team. You just kind of hope they don't bring their A game, because I still think if the Packers bring their A-plus game, not a good chance the Vikings win this one. So you're hoping you get the Packers playing their B- game. Maybe you're playing your B-plus, A- game, and you could go steal a victory in Lambeau Field. But I also think this will be a big moment for Kevin O'Connell. Listen, KOC has been very, very good in the division as the Vikings head coach. You swept the Packers last year. You went 4-2 in the division. Obviously, you lose to the Lions twice like you always do. But, if KOC could kind of spark this team, keep them locked in, and you're just floating around, still in that in the hunt graphic, then you go on a run later on in the year, like, this would be a big moment for Kevin O'Connell to kind of remake himself like, hey, I am one of the best young offensive-minded head coaches in the league. Like, I had J.J. McCarthy playing terrible football. We're still going to go on a playoff run. Like, all that is on the table this weekend if you could get a win in Lambeau Field. But you guys let me know how you're feeling about the game. Predict the score for me down below in the comments section. Vikings, Packers, Lambeau Field, Week 12 NFC North matchup. Let me know your score predictions down below. We'll get on out of here. As always, let's go Vikes. All right, you guys let me know your score predictions down below in the comments section. What up, Bentley? Shout out to you. Grenard was limited today at practice, so a little good progression there for JG. Reed going 17-13. Be able. Love Golf saying JJ is not it. Season over. Sorry, fellow fans. If wrong, we'll be first to admit it. Hopefully you are wrong. Good week to start Addison. Yeah, Addison in Lambeau. He's got 3 total touchdowns the last 2 games. Just went for just around 90-something yards. Like, anytime the Vikings have gone to Lambeau, he has had a good outing. Obviously, if the quarterback doesn't play well, probably not going to be getting a whole lot of production. Should Ryan Kelly be back this week or next week? If not this week, for sure next week. But I think he'll be out there. Hopefully he doesn't drop the ball twice. Yeah, hopefully, Reed. I mean, he would have had a 50-yard catch if he would have caught that seed from JJ over the middle. Chase Green saying, go Pack, go. JJ will be top QB by next season. I love it, Blake. But again, we'll be getting into a mailbag here. So if you guys have any questions around the Minnesota Vikings, going to need some more questions. So Blake, if you could ask a question, Reed Southern, just make sure you guys include hashtag Vikings in the live chat or super chat to get up on today's show. Appreciate you, Reed, for getting a question in the queue. But again, last call for the mailbag. We're going to dive into it. So if you guys got any thoughts on the Vikings, get those questions in there. B-Dash, have you ever seen our fan base root against a player like McCarthy? I'm so shocked how they're treating him. I don't know if it's Vikings fans rooting against JJ, but I think some people, maybe it was their take before the year, and they were like, oh, I would have brought Sam Darnold back. I would have brought Daniel Jones back. And then they see McCarthy struggling, and they're like, I feel like they're almost rooting to be right instead of rooting for the Minnesota Vikings, which, that's natural for fans to do. But, yeah, it's definitely a little weird. And also considering the kid's made 5 career starts, there would be nothing better than to have a franchise quarterback. So, yeah, I have heard Joe Burrow, full participant past 2 days at practice. Is Jordan Love going to play for the Packers? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Last name is Siepman, Siepman. Shout out to you, Robert. But let's dive into this mailbag. Hashtag Vikings. Get those questions in there. Last call for that. So going to need a couple more of you guys to get those questions in there. We're going to do a little mailbag. Talk about the Vikings. Get on out of here. And enjoy Friday and Saturday for the Vikings take on the Packers. So hashtag Vikings in the live chat or super chat to get up on today's show. If you guys could, that'd be great. William Warren, get a question in there. Same with you, Chad. It would be fantastic. Appreciate you, George. Shout out to you. We'll get to all of you guys' questions here. Awesome, Bentley. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll dive into this mailbag. Shout out to all the real ones for tuning in. Same with Love Golf. Appreciate you. Just hashtag Vikings in the live chat, and we can talk about it. Anything you guys want to ask. Could be about the Vikes. Could be about me, the NFL, whatever you guys got. Hit me with it all. Hashtag Vikings. But let's dive into it. Little mailbag here. Even if we're in the mailbag, just get those questions in the live chat. We'll get them up on screen or guarantee your spot. Send a super chat. Let's do it. It is a mailbag time on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome in. These are my favorite shows I do every single week, where it's just me and you guys chopping it up about our Minnesota Vikings heading into this Week 12 matchup against the Green Bay Packers. So Vaporous Plenty coming in here first saying, you think it's good for the Vikings to get Love in the first round or not? He's talking about Jeremiah Love, star running back from Notre Dame. Now, I think Jeremiah Love is a fantastic prospect. I really get similar vibes to maybe he's a faster, less physical Jonathan Taylor. I've seen the Jahmyr Gibbs comps. Listen, I love Jeremiah Love. He just doesn't have that breakaway speed that I think Gibbs does. But I think he's more of like a true running back, like a more of an old school feel that Jonathan Taylor has. So that's a compliment kind of given for him. But in terms of the Vikings drafting him in the first round, TBD. Like if you would tell me like, hey, Kevin O'Connell will take Jeremiah Love and the Vikings will be a run first team, they'll be getting downhill, they'll be establishing a run every single game, then yeah, hell yeah, I'd be interested in Jeremiah Love. But that hasn't been Kevin O'Connell. Like if we had Kyle Shanahan as a head coach, if we had Matt LaFleur, if we had Sean McVay, yeah, I'd be willing to get one of these playmakers at the running back position. But I would honestly rather have the Vikings focus on the secondary because Byron Murphy hasn't been the same guy. Besides him, I mean, you have two corners on your entire roster right now. So you're going to need to attack the cornerback position. Also, safety spot. Like with Harrison Smith, going to retire potentially. Theo Jackson, he's okay. Jay Ward, okay. Metellus has been solid, but he's had his lapses this year. I'd rather have the Vikes go safety or corner, but if they take Jeremiah Love, it's not like I'll be mad about it because, hopefully KOC or not KOC, Kwesi can, mess that up. Brady then saying, would we have to fire any coaches if we hired Brian Daboll? If we did it, it would be a great addition for the Vikings. No, you wouldn't have to fire anybody. You could just bring him on as a consultant. I mean, we saw that with Mike Vrabel and the Cleveland Browns. Now, I will say you could, like if Daboll said, hey, only reason I'm going there, only way I'm going there is if you guys fire Wes Phillips. Sorry, Wes, I would fire you in a second to hire Brian Daboll because I would just love the idea of having Brian Daboll, Kevin O'Connell, Josh McCown working with J.J. McCarthy. I mean, that would be one of the best trios you can have at the coaching positions to be evaluating and trying to develop a young quarterback. But you wouldn't have to fire anybody. But hey, push comes to shove, Wes Phillips, he can see the door on the way out. But Blake coming in saying, do you think there is a way that the Vikings could hold the Packers to 0 points with their bad offensive play? I'm gonna probably say no. Just because, and that's more of a respect to Matt LaFleur and the Packers as a whole. Like, listen, they're a very good football team. Even though they haven't been living up to the Super Bowl contender title, I think this year, like, they're still a tough out. You're playing them on the road. Like, if we had them at home and this defense was, like, playing like the 85 Bears, like, even then, I would say that's probably not going to happen. Is there a way to do it? You stop the run, you force Jordan Love into a bunch of third and longs, and you're hoping that he just has an off day. That's probably the only way that's going to happen. But I'd probably say not a significant chance the Vikings hold the Packers to 0 points. But hey, maybe you think the Packers are going to score 0 points. You guys predict the score for me. Vikings, Packers, Lambeau Field this weekend. Drop your score predictions down below in the live or in the comment section right now. Would appreciate you guys for tuning in. Just drop the score predictions down below. All right, George coming in there saying, if we somehow make it to the playoffs but lose in the first round, do we make changes during the offseason? Absolutely not. I think if the Vikings, if you make the playoffs this year, you're probably sitting pretty. And you're probably, like, everybody's probably, like, all their jobs are safe. I don't think, like, listen, if heading into the year, if you would have told me this, maybe I would have a different answer. But with the circumstance we have right now of you being 4-6, making the playoffs probably means you go 6-1 down the stretch. I mean, nobody's losing their jobs. I would not bring Kwesi back for another draft. I'll stand by that. I said that like about 2 months ago. I just think you just can't trust them going through another draft, especially a draft that you could potentially have 11 draft picks in. With all the comp picks the Vikings are going to get, I would probably maybe also Grigson could probably go as well. He's been terrible in the scouting department. I mean, some of his draft picks over his whole NFL career are just some of the worst that you will see. Yeah, I don't think any changes would happen. Now, if the Vikings go 5-12 then the year and they win one more game, like, yeah, I could see some serious changes happening to this coaching staff. Big O saying, do you think we should get Asante Samuel? Asante Samuel's with the Steelers. Could sign him off the practice squad, but I'm assuming he'll be elevated. But, yeah, maybe in the offseason. But, yeah, the Asante Samuel rumors are pretty much dead there. Hey, you lost Dwight McLaughlin earlier this week. You waived him for whatever reason. But, yeah, I mean, Asante's already signed with the team. All right, but if you guys could get down in the live chat or in the comment section, keep saying live chat as we're live filming this. Get down in the comment section, predict JJ McCarthy's stats versus the Packers for me. That'll be awesome. Let me know how you guys think JJ number 9 is going to do this weekend versus the Green Bay Packers. Now, I do want to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. And if you guys head over to factormeals.com/VikingChat50off and use promo code VikingChat50off, we'll hook you guys up with 50% off your first box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. Now, the fall season always feels like a reset between back to school, busier routines, and shorter days. Finding time to cook can be tough. That's why I love Factor. Their chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets. And I love Factor because they got more variety and more meals. Choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp, and no extra cost. They also do a great job of supporting your wellness goals. They have a lot of GLP-1 friendly meals and even new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats. So if you guys could, eat smart. FactorMeals.com/VikingChat50off. Plug in promo code VikingChat50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's promo code VikingChat50off at FactorMeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Bentley coming in. Should we fire Kwesi at the offseason and let KOC draft? I don't know about letting KOC draft, but kind of like I was just saying, yeah, I would fire Kwesi this offseason. I just don't think you can trust him with another draft for this team. I don't know if you want to give Kevin O'Connell control of the entire Vikings organization. I don't know if that makes too much sense. We've never really seen that work out. Like even Bill O'Brien back with the Texans when he was doing that, like that's a big time job. And also I don't even know if KOC would want to do that as well. But if the Vikings, like if this season goes the way it's going, like and you have a top 15 pick, I just don't think you can roll out Kwesi as a GM yet again. Because think about it, you got a top 15 pick in the first round, second round, third round. Like it's not like just like the top 15 in the first. It's throughout the entire draft, and you can't just consistently miss on all of those. Yeah, I think 100% they should. I don't really think there's anything that the Vikings could do this season to change my thoughts on Kwesi, but I don't know. He'll probably be back. He just got extended this offseason, so they'll probably give him one more draft. If they don't see anything, then maybe they let him go the following offseason. Who do you think our number one guy is that we should draft this year? I mean, it would be Caleb Downs, but you're not going to have a chance to get him. Besides that, like I didn't hate the Jeremiah Love idea. If you do want to go a running back and just like BPA, like, hey, we just want to get more good football players in the organization, that wouldn't be too bad either. Some other guys, I don't know. I haven't really looked too much into the draft for the Vikings, so pretty focused on the season here, Reed. But I appreciate you for asking the question. Love Golf coming in saying, will all 5 linemen be in? Talking about the Vikings starting offensive line. They should be. You guys probably already got word on that by the time you're seeing today's show. But, yeah, you should have Darisaw, Jackson, Kelly, Fries, O'Neal. You should have all of them, which is going to be awesome, man. Like, hopefully KOC, that gives him even more commitment to the run game. We'll see. We'll see how good they can do. Speaking about Sunday, Dima came in with a super chat just saying, let's go win on Sunday. Shout out to you, Dima. I appreciate you. But, yeah, big-time game this Sunday. Vikings, obviously, you're taking on your division rival, the Green Bay Packers. They want their look back from last year after you beat them in Lambeau. I mean, they embarrassed them also both times last year. The scores look way closer than they were. But I mean, the first game, the Vikings got up 28-3. The second game, I think they're up 27-10. So they really got after it against the Packers. So maybe Flores is seeing something with LaFleur. Maybe Kevin O'Connell seeing something with Halfley, and the Vikings have the advantage with the coaching heading into this game, but a must-win game for the Vikes if you want any chance to make the playoffs. And we've also been saying that for the last 2 weeks. We lost the last 2 weeks. So hopefully this is a really high sense of urgency for this ball club this Sunday. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, shout out to all the real ones. We appreciate you. Send me those skulls down below in the comment section, and we'll get on out of here. As always, Skol Vikes. All righty. Shout out to all of you guys for tuning in to today's live show. Tommy Wood in the building. But we're going to get on out of here. We'll be live an hour before kickoff this Sunday. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a cool giveaway for you. So if you guys could tune in then, please do so. We'll get on out of here. As always, Skol Vikes.